Hey, how you doing today?
I'm good. Hi.
Hey, so
How are you?
I'm doing well. I can't complain. So just following up from our last meeting, seeing how you're doing. How are the next steps that we've talked about before working for you, and getting things set.
So I think last time we spoke about what I have to do for my uni and the courses and time management.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's been going actually not so great, to be honest. I missed an assignment that I had due that I just completely didn't realize I had due. I didn't hand it in. I've spoken to the professor and I can hand it in late. That's fine. But also the plan I made the other day with um, in our last coaching session to go home by 8 and start working at 8. I didn't do it either. I went home a lot later because it was a beautiful evening and I was outside and I wanted to enjoy the time with my friend. So I went home at about 10:30 or 11 instead of 8. So I did do my reading, but I end up going to bed at 2 every night because I'm like doing my pre-reading instead of doing it earlier while I'm still awake. So I think I have a real problem. For me, it's really hard to focus for me. Like when I'm alone at home and I know, okay, you have like to do this reading, it's going to take you like 1 to 2 hours, like so let's say 2 hours. Um, Say it's 9 o'clock. I'm not going to start until 12 because then I'm like, oh, it's 12, it's fine. I'll do it in 1 hour and then I'll go to bed. And then I'm going to bed at like 2. And then I'm like super drained the next day, super tired. I can't pick up what I'm reading. I read everything like 3 times. Like my focus is really off. Like, first of all, time management and discipline and just like doing it. And then when I actually do it, my like focus is totally off.
Okay, so here's what I'm getting right now. Um, from the last time we talked, one, you missed an assignment. Two, the follow up at 8 o'clock to actually do your write ups and everything was also missed because you were hanging out with your friends, correct? And then as of right now, you feel like you can't necessarily focus to get necessarily everything done, and you're feeling a little concerned about your university classes as of right now, right?
I mean, probably not concerned because it's still working and I'm still like doing the work, but I just have to do it differently. I need a different approach. I need to learn to start earlier and not wait till the last minute and procrastinate the way I'm doing right now.
Okay.
I'm procrastinating way too much. So,
So,
yeah.
oh no, go ahead. I apologize.
No, so just some kind of like time management, but see, not just time management, also like self motivation to do the things that I might not necessarily want to do. Like it's really hard for me, and I find it really hard to concentrate when I have to do something, read, write something that I don't want to do.
So, here's what I would suggest. First, let's focus in on how we can, one, stop the missing of your assignments and deadlines.
Mhm.
Two, then we can figure out how we can make you a more focused worker so that way you can actually have like benefits to you going home and studying
Mhm.
instead of just, kind of like um I don't know, letting time go by in a certain sense. And then three,
Mhm.
we can figure out ways to support you to make sure that you stay on track in these disciplines.
Mhm.
All right. Does that sound like a great plan or a great agenda to have as of right now?
Sounds good. Sounds great.
Cool. So let's first focus on like how we can make sure you stop missing your deadlines. So
Mhm.
do you have any calendars or like any organizational tools that you use?
Um, yeah, I have a calendar on my phone that reminds me. The problem with this deadline is I didn't actually know about the assignment. It wasn't in my schedules for some reason. Like the course hadn't registered properly in my calendar, so I didn't actually know about the assignment. But yeah, I generally use the calendar on my phone.
Okay, and how efficient do you say that is? Like, do you actually utilize that calendar?
I put important things in and I set reminders. I always do 2 reminders, like a day before, 2 hours before, or something like that. So, but I feel like they don't really come up properly. It's really weird. Like sometimes I never see the reminders on my phone. It's very strange. So maybe I need a better way of doing that. I mean, because yeah, a lot of them just don't really pop up. I don't, or at least I don't see them. I don't know. It's weird. I need to double check, but I feel like they don't always show up.
All right. So, seeing as technology may be a bit of a problem when it comes to your daily planning, just to make sure that you know we are efficient on like tracking our assignments and what we need to do in our day-to-day tasks. Maybe we should do something that's not necessarily digital, but more so physical. Have you
Mhm.
thought about doing a day planner or like maybe having a binder where you can track what your appointments are or your deadlines are for the day. So that way you can
I've
keep.
had a planner before, like a little paper planner, and I just ended up not using it ever when I had it. Because when I had it, I hated it and I didn't want to use it. Because I hate feeling like I hate rules and I hate feeling stuck and I hate feeling like I need to do this. I don't like that feeling. So I think that's why I stopped using it.
All right. So here's one of the things that we have to realize when we are focusing on that time management is that time management is about structure. And so while we may be a free spirit in our personal lives and our pursuit, we need to focus in on, when we're doing our academic works, what is important to us. And so what you're telling me is that what is important to you is the fact that you want to make sure these deadlines are on track. But also what's conflicting to you is that you don't want to be kind of refined by these rules to set structures, right?
No, exactly. I want to be a free spirit. And I feel like people are already so enslaved and tied down already. Yeah.
Yeah. So within that, it seems like you just think that. Uh, so may I ask you, what is it about managing your time makes you feel like you're being restricted? Because that seems to be at least to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that seems to be the main pain point in your time management is that you want to do something else. Similar to you hanging out with your friend instead of going home at 8 p.m. as you
Mhm.
planned before. You wanted to stay out and enjoy the day. So what about time management feels like you're restricted?
Everything. It just feels like I feel like I'm a slave to time or to schedules and to work and to tasks and to I feel like I'm selling into this whole way of life that I never wanted to like buy into, you know?
So
It reminds me a lot of my dad, but that's probably going too far back. But
yeah.
yeah. But yeah,
So
this way of life that I think I always kind of rebelled against inside, which probably also the reason I'm finding it hard to figure out what I want to do as a job. But that's probably also sidetracking now. So yeah,
yeah.
it's the
So
same thing though.
So focusing in on our time management problem, right? Because you're a free spirit, you don't want to necessarily feel like you're restricted.
Like I hate
But
watches. I hate wearing a watch. It's the worst thing for me.
but here's the flip side. As someone who does have work that needs to be done on a hard deadline set, we need to figure out how we can use the time that you do have to do the work that you need. So that way you can continue having the free time that will allow you to continue your lifestyle as a free spirit. Is that something that you think is a actionable solution that we
Mm-hmm.
can plan on?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now that we've agreed on that, let's see. May I ask you, how much free time do you say you have during the actual week?
I mean, it's been varying a lot because I worked and I studied and did an internship and now I'm like just studying. So currently I generally have free time, but like the last 2 days I've had class all day. Tomorrow I have class all day. Monday I have class all day. So actually, like right now, I don't have much free time. But
All
yeah,
right.
like 3 hours, 2 hours a day.
So is that just for this week or like
Yeah.
overall? How
Oh, this week, like when I was doing my internship, I probably had like four.
4 hours a day? So 2 to 4 hours a day is about your relative free time, correct?
Well, yeah, currently. I hope that will be more one day.
All right. And so when thinking about that and what you actually want to do and what you need to do, how many hours a week would you say you actually spend working on classwork? Not in class, but
When
actually
I'm
working on class outside of class.
Well, I really can't say. It's been varying a lot. I try to do the bare minimum. This is terrible, and I probably shouldn't even be saying this, but I really try to do the bare minimum because I hate feeling so stuck and trapped. And I love just being, just like, even if I'm just not doing anything, I need that so much, or singing or cooking or, not thinking so I do try to keep it to a minimum. I mean, like, I work hard and I get my stuff done usually, but I procrastinate and leave it to the last minute because I actually want to spend like the minimum amount of time on it. And even if I know, oh, I could start today and do it really well until tomorrow to get a really good grade, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait till tomorrow night to do it, just because I hate that. Yeah, I don't know, it's hard. um this week, how many hours a day? Probably like 2 hours outside of school on schoolwork. Yeah.
So, so currently you work outside of school about 2 hours a week.
Mhm.
I mean, 2 hours per day a week, right? And as of right
Today's
now,
obviously more. I've had like two meetings and now I have to study for an exam tomorrow. So yeah, today is going to be like 5 or 6. But
yeah. So, but on average, you have about 2 hours per day of
yeah,
work outside of class.
yeah.
Um,
But then there's also weeks where I don't do anything outside of school, like nothing.
so it's fair to say that you have more free time than you do actual work in your day, correct? Just
Um,
because you said that you have about 4 hours of leisure time per day, but you only work about 2 hours per day outside of class, correct?
mhm. Yeah, but I had class from 9 to 5, so
Yeah. So agreeing on this, you do have adequate time to fulfill the actual work that you need to get done. It's about
yes,
having that actual discipline to get that work facilitated,
yeah,
correct?
yeah.
All right. So may I ask you what obstacles do you think outside of like your beliefs of not wanting to feel trapped by time, what obstacles are preventing you from actually doing your work?
I think it's because it's not really work I'm passionate about. Um it's not really like work that I enjoy much or that I'm super passionate about. I mean, this coaching stuff is actually really fun. I actually really enjoy it. I love like speaking to people and trying to, help people get, to the bottom of stuff. And I guess that's why I studied psychology. But apart from that, like, for me, I guess this isn't really my passion, like business school. Like, it's interesting and it's fun, and I like working with people I love. That doesn't really feel like work. I mean, yeah, sometimes it does, but that's fun. But like reading a business case at home by myself, that's not fun to me. I really don't enjoy that. Whereas I think if I would maybe make my passions my work, like we were just speaking about with you, then that would be better because then it wouldn't feel like work.
Okay. So Um, understanding that, that's probably another topic for a follow-up meeting. Figuring out what passion versus work you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
as of right now, we have a very real-world situation that we have at hand, which is that you currently have class assignments due, and as of right now, you so far already missed one of your assignments. So making sure that you keep up with your assignments in an efficient way, so that way both your grades won't suffer, but that way you will actually excel in your classes. Is that something that you want to focus on today, or is it more so that you want to focus on your job search? We can do either or, but I just want to make sure we're focusing in on one topic today.
No, I think this is good. The time management is good because I do know that when I am busy, I'm happy. Like, when I am busy, for some reason, I make it work. It always ends up working. Even if you work 10 hours a day, you end up, for some reason, you manage all the things you want to do. And if you have like 2 hours of work, you don't necessarily get more done. So I think it's more of a mental thing. And I also know that in routine lies freedom. Like, I never used to get it when people say that, but now I know. Like, people say, think like, oh, I hate routine, but actually in routine and in good time management and discipline with your time management lies freedom. Because when you do manage your time well, you then have the freedom to like do what you want, and actually you become the master of your day and your time. Whereas when you're constantly just kind of like zoning out or procrastinating, you're actually lying to yourself because you're not the master of yourself and your time anymore. I mean, sometimes it's important too to just let go, you know, and not think or not do anything. But I think, yeah, being like the master of your own day and how you structure your day is actually a freedom, I guess.
Yeah.
But
So
I need to like I need to get that. I need to internalize that.
yeah, so I understand that you see time as a source of your freedom, right? And so we want to make sure that you are the master of your day because missing an assignment isn't being the master of your day because that means that you actually have to plan more work later on, and that's something that we don't want to do. And so the benefits of actually having structured and planned time where you are actually focusing in on the work actually gives you more benefit and more time that you can use for your leisurely activities. Is that something that we can both agree on? All right. So now that that's something that we can both agree on, let's figure out how we can actually structure your day so that way you don't miss any appointments. At the beginning of this meeting, you did say that you didn't like any digital schedulers because they don't necessarily work with your phone. Sometimes you miss the reminders, and that you don't necessarily like the physical day planners just because they feel a bit restrictive. So, what solutions do you have in mind, or do you think will work well for you so that way you can keep on with your daily tasks?
I think probably my phone is the way to go because it's easy and but like the iMessage thing and the iCalendar. But you know, I think the problem with me is that I'm really bad at syncing different accounts and devices with each other. Like I have this thing on my iPhone, the calendar that I use,
Mhm.
but it's not synced with my Google Calendar or my emails. So when I get an email and there's like an appointment in the email and I'm like, "Oh, accept," it doesn't go into my iPhone calendar, and it's so annoying because I always have to like write it all out again, schedule, and like I'm not very good with technical stuff sometimes, so I wish, I guess maybe I need to like just learn how to do these things, but just to transfer an email appointment into your, you know, into your iPhone calendar would already be super helpful, for example, but I don't know how to do that.
All right. So here's what I plan,
Even
or
like
I
the
think.
Google Calendar with your normal calendar, that would be great too.
All right. So seeing as this meeting has to get wrapped up in a few, let's go over what we've discussed today, just to see what maybe we can figure out for our next step. Okay. So as of right now, we've actually figured out a lot. One is that because time management necessarily isn't necessarily your biggest problems, but one of the symptoms of your problems. It
Mhm.
seems that your problem is, or one of your problems that you're having with managing your time is that you feel that time management is something that is restrictive in nature.
Yeah.
That the very essence of planning your time makes you feel
Mhm.
like you're being restricted by it.
Mhm.
But because of that, you have the added, adverse effect of missing your deadlines, not being efficient in the work that you're doing, and procrastinating a lot to the last minute. Is that a correct summarization of your problems as of right
Yeah.
now?
But
And
how do I get beyond that?
so, as of right now, what we've figured out are solutions that you've tried right now are digital calendars to see if you can plan out your day. You've also as of right now. We've tried to see if maybe a day planner may work for you. And it seems like actually doing a physical structuring of your plan of your day isn't something that necessarily you want to do, even though you say you want to use your phone just because you can't sync up your calendars. So, can I ask you, is time management something that you actually want to focus in on? Just because by the end of this, I want to make sure that we have next steps that'll be actual for you to do. And if we say that you want to do research on different calendar apps that you want to do, we want to make sure that you are held accountable for that. So there are two things that I want to ask. One, is there anybody or anything that can hold you accountable so that way we can know that during our next meeting these tasks are followed up with? And then two, is there something that you yourself believe can work for you and your time management goals?
Hmm. The thing is, I don't like planning my whole day. Sometimes I just like being spontaneous. So I guess I don't know. Maybe scheduling just the important stuff, but I don't have anyone to hold me accountable for making my schedule, you know. I mean, that's yeah, no, I don't. I need to do that myself.
Yeah. So, okay, knowing that we don't have anybody accountable for ourselves, we need to figure out ways of how we can hold ourselves accountable. Whether that be, creating a jar where if you don't do an assignment, you have to put money in that jar, or making sure that there are like penalties that you implicate for yourself, so that way if you miss something, you don't get to go out to eat this week or something of that nature.
Mm.
Some sort of self, adversity to make sure that you stay on track when it comes to your goal setting. Is that something that we might consider doing?
Whew. Um, I mean, I'd love to say yes now, but I don't know if I will really end up doing it. The thing with the eating out, that's good. Like, I can be quite strict with myself in those ways. Like, I think that might actually work because I just, when I don't feel I deserve something, I just don't do it, you know? Like, I feel like I need to deserve things um, before I do them. But, um, hmm.
So, quick question. What do you think is your biggest problem with time management? Is it necessarily the feeling of restrictiveness, or is it necessarily that what you're working on is something that you don't want to do?
Both.
Both? Okay, so here.
More the latter, more the yeah, I think if I were like super happy, had my own business or something, or were like creating my own art and, you know, something like that, then I wouldn't mind having a schedule because I know that every appointment, every schedule, every, you know, thing on my calendar is another step to where I want to go. But this kind of like being lost and mindless stuff and doing things that I'm like, why am I doing this? This is not fulfilling. I think that's what is hard.
All right, so here's what I would suggest for next steps. Uh, for your short term and long term goals. Short term goals, making sure that you don't miss any assignments. Long term goals, figuring out what you actually want to do.
Mhm.
Okay? So for your next steps for your short term goal, I would suggest we one first test out your day planner. You did say that you never actually tried utilizing the day planner. You just feel like it wouldn't work for you. So let's
Like a physical one.
yeah, like a physical day planner. So let's
I
try a
tried, I tried, but then I ended up like not always having it on me, and then I always just left it somewhere, and writing things down took way too long. So I think actually it's better to do it on the phone. I think it's more realistic.
okay.
I think I should just learn to sync my apps better.
All right. So if we can agree that one, you're gonna actually utilize
No.
your phone. Let's one find one that's simple for you to use. It seems like iCalendar isn't the right application for you. Let's one find another application or scheduler for you to use. By the time of our next meeting, I would have let's say test out two or three scheduling apps. Let's figure out which one you want to use. Not necessarily a review, but let's just see which one works for you. Once you figure out which one works for you, let's try and stick with that. Create a habit for it, use it for the next 30 days. So that way you get into the motion of always looking at your calendar, seeing those reminders, figuring out what's going on. Okay. Um, can we agree that that's something that is something that you think is going to be feasible for you to do, or is that something that's not something that you will be able to do?
Mm. No, I think I can do that. I,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So, your coach, I'm gonna hold you responsible. I'm gonna ask you, what is your progress when it comes to utilizing this calendar? What have you been doing as it comes to our next step? And as well, how is your assignments and your productivity going after you've been using this calendar? Has it helped your time management? What goals do you have? What insights can you give me as it turns to that? If it is a fact that this scheduling app does help you with your time management, then we know for a fact that it was just according to like being reminded. But if not, then that means that there is another problem that that may be in effect, and that leads into our long term goals. Are
Mm.
you actually passionate about what you're doing? which may be as causing the symptom of your time management and procrastination problems.
Mm.
So your next steps for your long-term goal. One, give me I want you to write just one paragraph, maybe 3 sentences about what you're doing and why you're doing it. So that way you can figure out like, is the work that you're doing something that you're actually passionate about, or is this something that you're just stuck in a rut and you just need like a little kick in a knee to get you moving? And then two, write 1 to 5 things that right, 1 to 5 things that you would be interested in doing, whether it be a career switch, an industry switch, or just a hobby that you want to pick up that would allow you to both make compensation for your work, but also do something that you're passionate in. From these 1 to 5 lists and that paragraph that you're going to do, we're going to focus in on one is the work that you're doing, actually the work that you want to do. Two, the things that you're listing, how can we incorporate that into the work that you're doing? And then three, if there is no way to incorporate your list into what you're doing, how can we utilize the skills that you already have to pursue a newer passion that you will be able to, focus your time on and be happy utilizing and doing? Is that an agreeable goal or next of actions for you?
Sounds good.
All right, cool, cool. Well then, outside of that, I think we should meet back next meeting. Is that okay with you?
Sounds good.
All right. And
Thanks.
then feedback. So,
Oh yeah, feedback. Okay. Um, okay, let me just. Okay. So that was that was good. That was helpful. You were very direct. You nailed me down every time I went off and, got emotional and and you like pulled me down and were like, you know, came back with like direct, concrete things to do. That was good. Um, yeah, you were very focused. You obviously now you always recapped and summarized everything really well. You definitely identified my problems very well, and it's interesting because even if you just repeated what I said, it still felt good to hear it for me. So that's really interesting. I think I need to do that more actually myself. So that was really good and effective. Also, the action plan and the goals and steps that we now set out. I guess it is so important to have like next steps because you have something to hold on to, right? And if you don't have something to hold on to, you're still lost and you're like, what am I going to do? So that was really good. I feel good about that. Yeah, with this phone and calendar thing, maybe I need some help there. I don't know. But um, yeah. Mm, at some point, I almost felt that you were a little like annoyed, or that you almost had like in the end you wanted to like finish, but obviously we're under time pressure, and if you work as a professional coach, you're gonna have that too. I mean, I felt it a little bit. I think if I would have like, if I were paying you, I would have felt a little not insulted, but like a little bit like, like, oh wow, he really wants to get rid of me. Okay, like that. But I guess that's the nature of how it is. And even if you're paid for it, you're still on a schedule and you still have to get, get moving and get rid of people and see the next client. So it makes sense. But I think you still did it well, and you still didn't just like, send me away. You like gave me things to work with. You took the time to recap everything again. You made me feel very comfortable by like saying, do you feel that was also really good that you asked me, like, is that something we can work on? Does that sound good? Is that something you feel comfortable doing? That was really good. I really liked that. Yeah,
all right,
pretty
cool.
much it.
All right, cool. So I'm going to stop the recording now.
Oh, that was helpful. Thanks. I think the pinning down